Across the world and across the years, one thing above all others has epitomised the name Rolls-Royce. It is the classic shape of that unmistakable radiator. Ever since the very first 10 horsepower model of 1904, the shape derived from Greek temple architecture has characterised the company's products. Although advanced technology is applied today throughout the factory at Crewe, the radiator is still handmade, using the skills and methods of Sir Henry Royce's day. Amazingly, although the radiator itself appears to be entirely composed of straight lines, none of the panels from which it is constructed is entirely flat. Even more amazingly, all the curvature which is applied to those panels is achieved entirely by the use of skilled hands and eyes. The principle applied to the shaping of the radiator is known as entasis, and it is a technique which was known and applied by ancient Greek architects and stonemasons. When the Greeks built the temples which the Rolls-Royce radiator always brings to mind, they would shape the columns in such a way that they subtly widened at mid-height. The distortion was invisible, but it countered the optical illusion, which would make a pillar with parallel sides appear narrower in the middle than at its base and upper end. The same principle of optical illusion is at work in a Rolls-Royce radiator. If the sheets of stainless steel which make up the top section were to be flat, they would reflect light in such a way as to appear concave. By gently shaping and curving those light-reflecting surfaces, the skilled craftsmen who build the radiators create an effect which fools us into thinking we are seeing a shape composed entirely of perfectly flat planes. By using simple gauges which indicate the shape of the assembled shell and its relationship to the bonnet line, the builder applies gentle pressure to create the convex form of the panels which go to make up the radiator. This is the top plate of the radiator's upper section, or tank as it is known in the factory. The term tank dates back to the days when the upper section actually held the water which cooled the engine. The two major angles which form the central section on which the mascot will be mounted are bent along lines scored into the undersurface of the steel. Every other curve, however, is so subtle that it cannot be done by mechanical means. Continued flexing by hand and then checking the shape by gauge or by eye is the only way in which it can be achieved successfully. When all the sections of the tank have been shaped correctly, preparations begin for the task of joining them together. It must be remembered that the radiator shell is not plated in any way. There's no coating of chrome to hide any minor errors. These are sheets of stainless steel joined together by one of the oldest jointing processes known in engineering, soldering. Gaps between the sheets or excess solder on the joints cannot be accepted. The individual components of a Rolls-Royce radiator shell go together with tolerances which rarely exceed 1/1000th of an inch. Don't get the idea that the radiators are put together using old-fashioned soldering irons heated in a naked flame for reasons of tradition or a dislike of newfangled ideas. An electric soldering iron does not deliver heat as efficiently as a traditional iron, and experience has shown that for this job, the old way is the best. After the front and top plates of the tank have been tacked together, the next task is to shape the back strip, the part of the tank nearest the bonnet. Once again, it's a question of persuading the metal into shape, this time with a hammer. The craftsman now starts the process of soldering the tank. Because the radiator's final finish is bare metal, undisguised by paint or chrome, this is one of the most vital parts of the operation. If the soldering iron is left in contact for a few seconds too long, it will discolour the surface of the metal. In the same way, there's no way to disguise the fact that an excess of solder has been used. As time goes by, the solder will oxidise, and if the joint between the two components is not perfect, oxidation will make the excess visible. It takes 7 hours to make a Rolls-Royce radiator, but it takes a further 6 to polish it. The first pass with a mild abrasive belt will remove the small amount of excess solder and flux left after the building process. Although making the radiator is such a special kind of job, involving skills gathered and honed over years, it's not one in which rare and expensive materials are used. Although the steel from which the tank is made is of very high quality, the solder and acid flux used is, like the soldering irons, no different from that which a plumber would use to fix a kitchen sink. It's not the technology or the materials which count in this job, it's the skill. Skill is also of paramount importance in the polishing process. Technique is everything, and the way in which the polisher holds the tank and the angle at which it meets the wheel ensures that there are no marks left on the finished surface. An inexperienced polisher who doesn't master the correct angles will tend to leave patterns on that surface. Every surface of the tank is polished apart from the back plate, which is set behind the carefully shaped back strip. The back plate, which is hidden when the bonnet is closed, is the only part of the tank which is not made from stainless steel. It's made of mild steel coated with tin, and it will be painted black before the radiator is mounted on the car. The main purpose which the polisher has in mind as he goes about his painstaking task is to ensure that the tank has a uniform finish and that it has every appearance of being made from a single piece of steel. Never was the phrase "you can't see the join" more apt than in this job. With this amount of polishing, the operator has to be careful that too much pressure does not wear away the material. This is particularly important on the forward edge, whose 4mm radius is a legal requirement. To ensure that the finished job is within the required limits, it's checked with a gauge. The final phase of the polishing process is carried out on this large buffing wheel. The large diameter wheel operates at a lower speed than the smaller ones used earlier, and it will impart a bright finish without the danger of excessive heat, which can discolour the surface. After the worker responsible for building the shell has identified it with his individual mark, there remains just one more job to be done, that of attaching the famous double R badge. Symbolically, it's perhaps the most important element in the whole process, and it's carried out with the utmost precision. After it's been carefully positioned, the chrome-plated brass emblem is soldered in place, using a soldering iron specially shaped to reach inside the radiator shell. The initials on the radiator badge used to be red, but in 1933 they were changed to black. The company says the change was made for aesthetic reasons, because red did not fit in with the dark-coloured bodywork which was being fitted to so many Rolls-Royces at that time. Enthusiasts will tell you another story, however. They say it was done to mark the death that year of Sir Henry Royce.